Commissioners Court of Brazos County will meet regular session on June the 4th, 10 a.m. Commissioners Courtroom in County Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item on the agenda is invocation pledge of allegiance to the U.S. Texas flag. Commissioner Perry will lead those.
Okay, please bow with me. Lord, thank you for this wonderful day and the many abundant blessings you bestow upon us. Please watch out for our first responders, men and women in uniform, fire and police, who protect us here and abroad, who allow us to have the freedoms we enjoy. Thank you for the opportunity to do meaningful work on behalf of the citizens of Brazos County. May our work be pleasing to you. Pray for a ceasefire in Gaza and in Ukraine, and for humanitarian aid for those in need. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Commissioner. Second item on the agenda, call for citizens' input and/or concerns, and Mike Sutherland.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. I'm here to speak on item number 5, the health court, the mental health court. I'm here representing the VFW 4692 and the Vietnam Veterans Chapter 937, and especially Johnny Velasquez was commander of 4692, and he was with me here the last time we spoke, and he recently passed away, so I'd like to dedicate this to his memory and his zeal for getting this Veterans Treatment Court in place. And the reason I was called here today is because the mental health court is exactly like the Veterans Treatment Court. You're looking for monies to take care of people that are in trouble with the law because of mental health. And the same thing applies to the Veterans Treatment Court. There are people that are in trouble because of their service to the nation, basically, and there's availability of monies for them through the VA to handle their care. And if you were to allow the court system to ask for those monies, you could apply more, you could help more people with mental health. You'd have more money available to help them with. So that's really the reason that I think y'all need to reconsider not just the mental health court, but the Veterans Treatment Court also. And I've been working on this for 4 years now, and there's many reasons why you ought to treat the veterans. But I think it boils down to a basic element of reciprocity. You know, when people do a favor for you, you have to repay them. I mean, it's a natural instinct to try to repay. However, people don't know that from birth. You have to teach them that. And in our case, the people that volunteer for the military and are willing to fight for us is a favor to us, and we promise in many ways to repay it. And one way we can repay that thing here locally is through that Veterans Treatment Court, which really doesn't cost us anything. One of the, I'm not trying to be childish here, but the reciprocity is taught to us when we're very young through Aesop's fables. You know, the story about the slave in the cave, and a lion comes in, and he's got a thorn in his foot, and the slave is really reluctant to help him because he's afraid of him. And much like our military too, I think, but the slave does take the thorn out of the lion's foot, and later on in life, that lion saves the slave. And so that's what it's about. It's about taking care of people, because when you do that, when you teach our society that, you create a better society and a longer lasting society. One other thing that's one of the natural laws, I think, is that people think that, I know you've heard that phrase about the wars and rumors of wars and what that means, and people think, like we're mentioning Israel and that war there, now is that Jesus talked about that, about the second coming in Matthew, and he said, mentioned wars and rumors of wars. But if you read it all the way through, his idea was that that's not the end of time. That's just a natural state of things. And so when people don't recognize the military as a part of society, not in the society, but just a natural part of things, we have to have a military because of the nature of countries. And so as long as there's wars or rumors of wars, there is no end of time. We're still living. So there's other signs that the end of time is coming. I'm not a preacher. I'm just reading what I've learned recently. And there's other signs of end of time, but it's not wars and rumors of wars. So we got to be prepared. And the way we stay prepared is to make sure the people that have helped us in the past get help now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Cindy Wilder.
Morning, Judge and Commissioners. I just wanted to make you aware, if you weren't aware, that our Senate had a committee hearing on the 29th last week. It went for 11 hours, and it was regarding, in the State Affairs Committee, and it was regarding election security. And it was heavily discussed about the countywide voting. And I can just read a small snippet of it. They were to identify threats to Texas election integrity, including those from big tech and foreign entities, recommended ways to neutralize such threats, additionally evaluate the county-wide polling place program in Texas, make recommendations to address county-wide polling issues such as increased wait times, longer travel distance, supply shortages, and reporting irregularities. Out of this hearing, Senator Hughes issued subpoenas. The Google whistleblower came and he spoke in the first 3 hours of the session. But if you have an opportunity, since we are countywide voting, to listen to it, I mean, you're not going to sit there for 11 hours, but at least you can hear it and do whatever you're doing. But it's very informative, and the public got to speak, and our Christina Adkins spoke, and the Dallas County, where they had the poll books start ramping up at the close of the poll books. I mean, at the close of the election. They speak about that incident and what happened with that. But anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that too. And then while we were at the state convention, our GOP, Matt Rinaldi, his ballot was revealed, and they posted it. And now also Colin Allred, who's running against Ted Cruz, his ballot got posted from the primary election. So the concept of secrecy no longer exists, because with countywide voting, you can go back, and there's two different ways that they do it. And Dr. Laura Presley, her lawsuit, speaks to one of the ways that they can do it. But she's not going to put it out there in evidence. She's doing it in camera with the judge. But anyway, I wanted to make you aware of that. It's a hot topic, as we have spoken several occasions on. And just, there's not been a resolution, and I just put it out there. I have 14 ballots out of 2 polling locations from the primary election that have no precinct number. They have no random numbering on them. Trudy is aware of it. She spoke to it in general, but she didn't speak specifically about it. So I don't know if they were counted. I don't know if they were inserted fraudulently. I have no idea. But when I did an audit of the ballot numbers used for those 2 polling locations, there was nothing on the calculator tape that made us aware that there were ballots without numbering. So I don't know. It's a big question mark in my mind of how these ballots got dealt with. And I've made you aware of that, Judge. So anyway, I guess that kind of wraps it up. I will continue to speak about this because there's more revelations coming every day about the countywide voting and our machines. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last citizen input, so we will move on to number 3, Presentation and discussion. Presentation by the county auditor of fund balance budgeting reporting.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Doesn't this podium have wheels? So I wanted to take an opportunity to discuss fund balance as we move into the 24-25 budget season. Fund balance is the result of operations, revenues, and expenditures, the difference between the two, since the inception of Brazos County. So at the current time, I don't know if you can see it, at the end of September 2023, the general fund balance, now general fund is where we pay for most of our operating costs, wages, maintenance, supplies, and benefits. The general fund total fund balance was $149,220,082. There are 5 types of fund balance. There is non-spendable, which you can see were prepaid expenditures of 1 million. Can you make it a little bit bigger? There you go, 1,368,597 for prepaid and 1,810,681 for inventories. Now both of those are non-spendable because we have essentially invested cash in those things. For example, prepaids a lot of times, our insurance is a large prepaid because it's due in July. We expense 3 months, the other 9 months goes to prepaid. We've already paid the insurance company, so it's not liquid cash. Inventories. The majority of our inventories are going to be the rock and materials out at Road and Bridge, and that's pretty much it, maybe fuel. Okay, so those are non-spendable, and that's 3.1 million of the 149 million. Okay, so 149 is not cash. We have 3.1 is non-spendable. You couldn't spend it anyway. Then we have another type of fund balance is restricted fund balance. Restricted fund balance is going to be your balances that are revenues minus expenditures each year for programs where the revenues are dedicated to a certain activity. For example, vital statistics. We collect fees on documents in the county clerk's office, and many of them have a vital statistics fee. Well, that fee can only be used for vital statistic activities. Okay, so we restrict that fund balance. Restricted fund balances are those where a third party, particularly the legislature or the federal government, impose a restriction on us. The restricted fund balance at 9/30/2023 was about $5 million. You can see it on the screen, $5,033,052. You take that out of the 149 million, and you get down to the more liberal, more under Commissioners Court's control of types of fund balance. There's commitment, and then there's assigned, and then there's unassigned. So what I'm here today is to talk about, before Commissioners Court gets into the swing of setting the budget for 24-25, including the tax rate, which will happen later in the summer, I would like Commissioners Court to seriously consider, and it's on the agenda further down, a resolution to commit 25% of the previous year's actual revenues as an emergency fund. It would show up on the books, both budgetary, it would show up on the books in the financial reporting as a committed fund balance. For budget, you wouldn't see it. Okay, it's going to be committed for emergency purposes. The only way we can consider it committed for financial reporting is if you do a resolution. In our case, the highest governing body creates a resolution, and then the only way you can take that amount out of committed is a resolution to get rid of it. Okay? I have suggested, and y'all can change it if you want, it's Commissioners Court's decision, 25% of the previous years, because that previous year's actual revenue has been audited and is known by the time that you get into actual budgetary time. So that $36,883,209 is based on actual revenues that were received or earned, gotta watch that revenue thing, in fiscal year 22-23. So it's a set number now because the revenue's been audited. Yes, sir.
That's not just revenue from property tax, that's total revenue.
Yes. That includes interest, that includes fees, court costs that we get to keep, our portion of that, grants, some of the grants, not all, additional money we get from the state as a supplement for the county court at law judges, for the county attorney, those supplements, it is including part of that too. Now, it does not include other financing sources, which is ARPA revenue replacement. That I took that out because that's we all know, particularly after the last 2-3 years, that's a one-time thing. It's not going to happen.
It's not a recurring revenue.
Right. So I took out the revenue replacement and I took out any other financing sources. There is one that me and the Governmental Accounting Standard Boards are going to fight over one of these days. It's a SABITA, it's an other financing source, and they make us book it, but it's fake revenue. Anyway, so I took that out too, because I did not want our committed emergency fund to include revenues that I couldn't find cash. Okay? Again, that 36 million is 25%. 25% is generally a good idea. Why did I base it on revenues and instead of expenditures? Expenditures has a tendency to fluctuate more, particularly because our capital asset policy is at 5,000, but yet there's a lot of one-time costs that we incur for furniture, for other things that we don't have every year. And so our expenditures has a tendency to be more volatile. So I picked revenues because they're less volatile. Sales tax is still somewhat, but even that is still relatively even. Okay? One of the reasons that I want Commissioners Court to consider this before getting into the 24-25 budget is because this is fund balance. And what you want to spend out of fund balance will affect your decision or could affect your decision on the tax rate later in the summer. Okay? After committing that fund, you will have $104,924,544 unrestricted fund balance. That can be used to fund capital projects. It can be used to balance the budget, so therefore funding operations. But if you set aside this committed, it will help. We have it, number one, so let's set it aside while we have it. The 25% allows it to fluctuate. If we spend down fund balance with the tax rate, then that means revenues so that 25% will go down also. So it won't always be 36 million. Depends on how much the revenues are. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so if we got smaller, that committed emergency fund would get smaller too. Now, when you commit it, you're setting it aside. You're not going to be able to see it in the budget because the whole point is to not budget it so that you don't use it. Okay? You can get to it and use it if you declare a countywide emergency. Okay? Then you can amend the budget to use more of fund balance, to use part of this emergency fund. Okay? The other reason is it helps stabilize Brazos County to the bond raters, to our investors. As we grow, as you can see, our fund balance has grown, our expenditures are growing, our population is growing, our jail population is growing. It's not just the fund balance that's growing. It's all getting bigger, and so we would want to, we have been setting aside 9 or 10 million, but if we had a true emergency, that would cover 1 month's of expenditures. Yes, ma'am.
Are you anticipating that we would put aside 25% every year?
Not increasing. You would calculate what the 25% is from the previous year, and that's what you would set aside. So I wouldn't,
So it wouldn't be accumulating?
correct.
Okay.
It would
it's
go
just
up or
that-
down
it's just
based
for
on the
that
previous
budget year.
year's
Right.
revenue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So no, it would not accumulate. Questions?
So you mentioned rating agencies.
Yes, sir.
Have we ever been in any, even without having a committed emergency fund balance, have we ever been in a situation where we have felt like meetings with rating agencies on our outstanding indebtedness or our rating for issuing new certificates of obligations or referendum debt, that they had any concern about the quality of our debt?
No.
Okay.
What we have found, this last issuance in spring of last year, we got a bond rating of AA+. That could have had, they didn't tell me specifically, something to do with our fund balance. I don't know. They won't always tell you. I know I have asked, how do we get to AAA? It's not up to us. It's the economy. It's us surrounding. It's what they're doing out there that would get us to AAA, and we can't control it.
What's the U.S. government's current rating?
I have no idea. It's
It's not AAA. It's
Right.
below AAA.
okay.
So, and then as far as best practices goes,
Yes.
that you know from your association, from other things out there, where does this fit us relative to best practices, and how does this compare us to other counties that are of comparable size and composition?
I think this will actually put us a leg up because it's actually committed. Several of the counties I looked at have, what do they call it? Unrestricted fund balance, but they haven't committed it. And so we're taking it one step further. Do you have to? No. But it would provide those rating companies a little bit better confidence in our debt. And we will be going out for debt for the road bonds in spring of 2025. Yes. And then anything else we want to.
This is similar to what we saw when I was with City of Bryan Council.
I think they do it in days.
We brought our number of days up to over 90 days. We increased our bond rating. We refinanced the debt, and it was double digits in the millions of dollars that reduced the outstanding debt if you were to only pay your minimums. Of course, that wasn't.
Right.
That's never wise. But
Right.
so I think this is sound accounting principle, good
It is
policy,
part of-
especially in the uncertain times that we're in.
Yeah.
So-
With
Hurricane
inflation the
season
way
is
it
coming.
is,
So is it fair to say, relative to what you're aware of from best practices, that this puts us at the top of the comparative tier? Or close, above? what
we're
would
above
be-
average in Texas. How about that?
That's great.
I feel comfortable saying that.
I mean, fiscal soundness is,
Yes,
Right.
it's important.
with that, just kind of to put this into a perspective, of the, all rounded up to $105 million in unassigned fund balance as of June 4th, 2024. I noticed that that's, one thing is that it says an estimated. Okay, does that put in anything on where we are relative to the fact that we're through, 9 months? Or at
So
the
it
end of
says
June, we'd be
estimate?
through 9 months with the budget to actuals on the general fund side?
This does not include any results of the 23-24 fiscal year. It's
Okay.
estimated because you haven't committed it yet.
Okay, I got you. All right. And then
It's real hard to say.
relative to our general fund budget to actuals through 8 months, which I guess do we have those figures yet, or are those figures that?
Revenues, I looked at them yesterday, revenues are running at 50%, and expenditures are running at 60%.
Okay, and where are we relative to, a rough, where are we relative to our, the numbers that we see as far as year-to-date budget to actuals on?
All I can do is say that 8 out of 12 would be 66%, and we're at 60.
Okay, so we're forecasting the likelihood of another surplus this year.
There will probably be
on
another
an annual
surplus.
operating basis.
Yes, sir. There will probably be another surplus. If you want to see the graph I did on expenditures and cash, I have those. Our expenditures, I say 66% because 8 out of 12 months is 66%.
Right.
But we increase expenditures in September almost double every other month. So
Yeah.
Kinda
I
keep
know
that in
it's not-
mind.
I know it's not a linear function.
Right. And our cash, there's 8 months out of the year where our cash from property taxes, there isn't any.
You-
It goes, anyway, so this helps steady our revenues and our cash, our cash balances can also help steady our investment income.
And then relative to that 105 million, looking at our capital improvements plan, which is where we would possibly access that money for projects, things that we were doing that were not considered to be something we might want to issue certificates of obligations or resolution debt for. What do we see in our capital improvements plan?
That would have to be, I would have to ask the budget officer that question because that's an expenditure side. I know just from the news lately, there's several projects in the works.
Yeah, well, maybe we should save that.
I think
to where-
that might be
to when
better
we get
and
into the
when we
budget
get to
situation.
capital.
But we'll just,
Yeah.
I'd like to hold on to that idea because I'm glad, anyway, we'll talk about this on the agenda item. Thank you.
Yes. Those are all considerations you need to consider when you get to the budget for the next 3 months.
Well, I know we made an attempt at this last year, but we didn't come up with a resolution.
No, and there is a resolution on the agenda today, and if you want to change the amount, let me know, we can do that. And you could, if you didn't want to do 25% of the prior year's actual revenue, excluding one-time grants and other financing sources, you could change it in your motion so that we could still get it through, because I'm not going to give up.
I appreciate your diligence to your cause.
Any other questions?
No. Thank you, Katie. Okay, we will consider and take action on agenda items 4 through 20. Number 4 is proclamation 24-17 declaring the month of June as Elder Abuse Prevention Awareness Month.
Move approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Was there anybody here to receive that today? Let me get that top copy, our copy, and I'll take it and read just this one right here. Phil, you have those signed. Is this on? Okay. Whereas older adults and people with disabilities and diverse backgrounds contribute to the well-being of the city by working, caregiving, volunteering, and actively preserving in customs, rituals, and traditions. And whereas as we age, we will build momentum by accumulating knowledge, experience, insight, and wisdom that has been shared to enrich our community. And whereas abuse of older adults and people with disabilities in a community concern affecting thousands of people across Texas. And whereas there are 120,069 reports of abuse of older adults and people with disabilities in Texas in 2023. Whereas abuse against older adults and people with disabilities is grossly underreported because of social stigma, embarrassment, and fear. And whereas adult abuse affects men and women of all income and ability levels and all cultural, ethnic backgrounds in all communities. And whereas elder abuse is everyone's business, it's important to strengthen our efforts to prevent, report, and address elder abuse. Now therefore, the Commissioners Court of Brazos County, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2024 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Brazos County, Texas, and urge all residents to work together to reduce abuse and neglect of older adults and people with disabilities. Witness our signature the 4th day of June 2024. Whoops. Come on up and speak, and I'll get you a copy.
Sounds good. My name is Markeisha Lamar. I am the local supervisor for the Adult Protective Services Unit here in Brazos County. And we do investigate abuse, neglect, and exploitation for anyone 65 and older, or 18 and older with a substantial disability or impairment. And as Judge Peters stated, we are just here to raise awareness. We thank you guys for proclaiming June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And we're just trying to break that stigma and to let others know that we are not here to just remove those individuals out of their home, but we're working our hardest to ensure that they are safe and they have their needs met in the community. We thank you to first responders, our judicial partners, and others in the community that work collectively with us to ensure that we are keeping our elders safe. So thank you very much.
Stand up, Joe. I'm on my chair, Silas.
Congratulations.
Did we vote on that? We did. Okay. Number 5 is Resolution 24-12, authorizing the creation of mental health court program. This will allow mental health specialty court judge to request grants funding for 2026 fiscal year, September 1, 2025 to August 31, 2026.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. We've talked about it for a long time. The need is definitely there, and I'm glad we're moving forward on this.
Agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I have to echo the sentiments of Mike Sutherland when we spoke earlier today. I have asked for a update on a repetitive basis as to where a veterans treatment, and I emphasize the word treatment, court is, why it's not a part of this, and I am not going to I'm not going to vote in opposition to this because I think it's one step in the right direction, but I certainly feel that the other step that needs to be taken should be taken on behalf of people who have made a commitment to defend us and our liberties, should also be taken. And I look forward to the potential of that happening in the future. And as I'd asked for before, a presentation in open session as to what the status of that is, and look forward to that.
okay, I'm glad you said that, because as I suggested, I think it was last week, I think what you probably need to do is go talk to Judge Hawthorne, Judge Hilburn, Jarvis, and Earl Gray. I mean, I think there's things going on that they're taking care of short of a veterans court. I'm not sure, but if you'll go over and talk to them and bring us back a report, you can do that in court. I'd be happy for you to do that.
Judge, we talked about this last time I brought this up. You suggested that. I said that me talking to, I specifically said, Judge, that me talking to these people individually and bringing a report back to you is
Not
not
to me,
the
to
same.
the court.
Okay, to the court, whichever, my apologies. But I mean, I asked that it be handled the same way in a public session, that the entire presentation about the do or do not from the committee that we had organized to make a recommendation to us. And I think it needs to be a public treatment of that by the people who are the current decision makers relative to that. I don't think that it benefits the community for me to have an individual conversation with other members of Brazos County government and it not be treated in the same way that we treated the whole venture of creating a court.
What you don't recognize
I
is
respectfully
that this
disagree.
body does not create the court, does not do it. It's the judicial and the prosecution that really has to do that. This action that we're taking on mental court this morning is really the limit to what the Commissioners Court does, is open it up to where they can go for it. So if you will go talk to them and then bring us a report back, that's what you're asking for, we'll do that.
I have had conversations with them, as I stated before, when
Well,
you
you should have brought us a report
when you
got
brought
those
this up.
conversations. Yeah.
Judge, we have a fundamental difference of how things should be handled relative to the public, and I think that's become over
So
the
who do you
years
recommend
extremely
bringing that
obvious.
forward?
Judge, I expect, I didn't interrupt you. I let you finish your statement.
Yeah, but it takes you a
Please
lot
offer
longer
me-
than it does me, so.
I think I'm just going to rest on that.
Okay.
I've voiced my opinion. I think what needs to happen is very clear from what I've stated, and you know, I'm not going to be disagreeable about disagreeing with you.
So who would you recommend is going to bring the
I have no
report?
further
I've
comment.
recommended that you go get the information and bring it back. Who would you recommend?
Judge, I have no further comment.
Great.
I stated
I
that
see
before.
We've got a motion and a
stated
second, I
that
believe,
before.
on that.
Call the question.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 6 is Resolution 24-13, Commitment to General Fund Balance for Emergency Purposes. The amount of fund will be 25% of prior year's actual revenues, general fund only, excluding one-time grants and other financing sources.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 7 is authorization to report payroll expenditures as Brazos County's use of America Rescue Plan Act revenue replacement funds.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 8 is approval of declaration of intent for committing funds from local provider participation fund to Medicaid managed care and aligning technology of linking inoperable systems with client health outcome program, Atlas, to support upcoming IGT request.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 9 is approval requested from Purchasing Department to declare a list of surplus property as salvage in accordance with the local government code 263-152 and authorize destruction or other means of disposal.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 10 is approval of interlocal agreement between Brazos County and Wicks Creek Special Utility District for grant funds to be used for purchase and installation of generators for well site operations. Funds to be part of an ARPA revenue replacement.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 11 is approve agreement 24-114 online vital records request application for permit for county clerks.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Steve.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 12 is approval of no award IQ 25-004 grease trap pumping due to lack of qualified bid responses.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Oh, I can't, nobody wants to pump our grease?
Guess not.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 13 is request for approval of final plat of Lot 9R, Block 3 of Coulter Business Park, Phase 2, being a replat of Lots 9, 10, and 11, Block 3, 3.062 acres, Moses A. Foster, A16, City of Bryan, ETJ, Brazos County, Texas, sites located in Precinct 2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 14 is tax refund application for the following.
Move approval A through D.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is Commissioners Court minutes for the following dates.
Move approval A through D.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve A through D. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 16 is budget amendments. FY 23/24 budget amendments 34.01 through 34.07.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 17 is personnel change status.
Move approval A and B.
Second.
Motion made, seconded to approve 17, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 18 is payment of claims. Claim to be paid by Brazos County. Claim number 8203042 through claim number 8203177 and claim number 9201292 through claim number 9201344.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. We'll skip down to number 21 is acknowledgement of the FY 2020. Did I miss something? Well, 21 is acknowledgement of the FY 23-24 budget to actuals by fund as of May 29, 2024, and an acknowledgement of the FY 2023-24 contingency budget to actuals by fund as of May the 29th, 2024. And number 22, juvenile director's report by detention population.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. We have 36 juveniles in detention, 25 males, 11 females, and we have 36 on electronic monitors.
Thank you, Linda. 23 is sheriff's report on inmate population. Sheriff.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. 844 this morning, 713 men, 131 women. We have 39 on monitors.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff. 24 is announcement of interest items, possible future agenda topics.
Judge, George's Paint and Body, Silas and Keita Garrett are working in conjunction with the food pantry for the summer hunger food drive. It starts June 3rd, ends June 28th, and between 4 and 6:30 each day, you can go to George's Paint and Body, and actually there's several businesses in town where they're asking for non-perishable food items, canned foods, grains, beans, granola bars, pancake mix, tea bags, rice, pasta, potato chips, that sort of thing, bottled water. They actually do take monetary donations as well, and baby formula, things for baby food. Those are expensive things. They would absolutely love to have those. So again, this entire month, through June 28th, started yesterday at George's Paint and Body between 4 and 6:30. Come by and bring your donations, and just, if you could, put it on your calendar every time you grocery shop this month. Give a little something extra for the hungry. You know, we all think about the hungry during the holiday season, But hunger for so many of our residents in Brazos County, and if you look at even our census data, hunger is a way of life for so many, and so many of us, not so much. So let's be generous this month if we could.
I also want to thank Keita and Silas, but there's other companies in town that are doing this too. Douglas Mazda VW, Jeff Paderewski, and I think there's 2 others that I'm not aware of. I'll tell you who those 2 others right now.
I know the College Station Noon Lions Club is engaged as well, part of what we did. So-
Aggieland Outfitters and Producers Co-op. They're all accepting donations. Food insecurity is real in this community, and anything anybody can do to help is appreciated.
And I really appreciate that, Silas, and everybody else who's been mentioned that's involved, because I think one of the issues that child nutrition and child hunger is so much more of a significant impact during the summer than it is during the regular school year, because during the regular school year, the connections with the local public schools is much better there, and that can be addressed. So this is something that needs to be taken up by the community even more at large in conjunction with what takes place in schools. So thank you for your efforts.
Okay.
Summer is real important because all the kids are at home. They do nothing but eat at the house. And they don't have any school to give them free food and stuff like that.
Correct. So, any other announcement of interest item, possible future agenda topic?
Beat,
Okay, we're gonna move
beat the
back
baseball
up.
heck out of Oregon.
We're going to move back up and convene an executive session pursuant to the following. Texas Government Code 551.087 for deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, and B is Texas Government Code 551.074 to discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, and duties and discipline of county personnel. And we're going to do that one first, and we need, of course, Aubrey and Judge Maskey. Did I see her come in? Judge Maskey, I think we'll need personnel, attorneys, chief of staff. Is there anybody else you think we need? I think that's all. And the time is 10:49. The next one will, of course, be Kimberly.
Silas, was that you? You just said, oh. Huh? I am. I'll get you checked to you.
Okay, we're coming out of executive session. It's 11:30. There's no action to be taken, and the next item is to adjourn. Thank you.